So a few months ago, people were asking me, hey, ZTL, since we're about a month ahead, do you think we're going to see any early quality of life upgrades, into the game? Since, again, we're a little bit ahead, maybe they'll spice things up for our anniversary for us. And the only thing that I thought that was possible for us to get early was this, the Destiny Order Summon. And do you know why? Because they literally lose nothing by throwing it out here, right? Because it's just more money for them, because it's just GSSR number 2, right? Pretty much double the price, it's going to be about $30 USD or $45 USD if you want to do this, and the normal GSSR. It really loses them nothing for going into this. And for that reason, I know a lot of people are super, I guess, on edge about doing this, because you go into this, you're paying a lot more money. I myself am probably not going to be doing this, because I'm like, dude, for one, it's like 30 bucks to do. Elden Ring's DLC is like $40, and I would rather play that. But it's also just, I feel one of those things that loses value the better your account is. If you're a newer player, this is absolutely insane. I mean, there are so many different supports you can slot into the various classes for you to pick that you're pretty much bound to get somebody that can help you out, right? It's super, super sick. But the more well-established your account is, again, like myself, you can kind of just skip out on it. I mean, sure, it's nice, but double the price of the GSSR is a little bit crazy. And the general idea is, yeah, it's going to be like, what, a 1 in 10 chance for you to get exactly who you want. But it's like going into Subway or something, right? My brother in Christ, you cannot be mad at the result of whoever you get, because you made the sandwich, right? The quality of Subway's ingredients is probably a topic for a different day, but you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you put everybody in there, so you can't possibly be mad. I know over on the JP side of things, when we first got this, I put people like Koyenskaya, Ruler Scotty, Oberon on there because I really needed them to be able to do buster farming, or maybe I could do the higher end quick farming if I was able to go ahead and pick up Ruler Scotty. But I also threw in Summer Ibuki on there despite already having her, because my thought process was, well, if I don't get anybody that opens up, say, Buster farming or Oberon farming, or again, better quick farming, I at the very least am going to put myself with like my best foot forward for arts farming, right? And I haven't regretted it, because I did end up getting Summer Ibuki, and NP2 has been serving me rather well, It's been very nice for 90++ nodes and doing various multi-core things over on the JP side of things. But if you're wondering, as a newer player, who should you pick? Who should you put into the various slots? We're going to break that down in today's video. So first and foremost, your Saber slot. And before I actually get into this, obviously, if you don't want the like super meta people, you're not looking for supports or whatever, you could put whoever you want in here, right? You can put Masashi in the Saber slot. You could put Gilgamesh or whoever in the Archer slot. I mean, this is just my suggestion if you want to try to overload yourself with the best chance of getting a decent support that can really help you out in the game. So going into the Saber slot, obviously you can put whoever you want in there, but I would recommend Nero Bride, because even if you don't get somebody like, say, Castoria, or maybe even Tamamo if you already have Castoria for your caster slot, you at least walk away with essentially Castoria too. And even if you already have Castoria, she's not bad, giving you the decent battery, the fat NP gain buff, a very, very strong attack buff, and a Sky attribute power mod, which is always just nice to have, even as a plug suit option. If you don't walk away with, say, Oberon to do the Oberon Castoria type of farming where you just overclock stuff like Black Grail, this can be very, very nice to have, because Sky attribute is one of those really rare things. And so for her to not only have it, but to be able to gift it to somebody else is really nice. And again, if you have a looper who's not, all that great, maybe their NP gain or their hits are rather low, or you kind of feel like they're falling off a little bit, not only is that massive attack buff just going to be generally really good, but also the extra NP gain is pretty much going to shore up any issues you have, especially in conjunction with someone like Castoria. So Saber, I would recommend Nero Bride. Nero Bride is very, very strong. Obviously, you could pick whoever you want. Now, moving into riders, I do think picking up Reigns is not a bad idea. She is one of those servants that I think kind of gets, swept under the rug. People don't really talk about her all that often, but she is effectively just Waver too. And instead of Waver being the more offensive version of the two of them, giving you, you know, the big critical attack buff. She's more focused on keeping your guys alive with the invincibility buff and the really, really strong ability that nobody talks about on her NP to make you take neutral type damage, right? Like, so if you have a Berserker, for instance, they no longer get hit for super effective by everybody, they take neutral, which is really, really nice. You know, if you're someone like me that likes to use Morgan, or maybe you're bringing a, you know, Arjuna altar to a boss fight, you're bringing an MHX altar, whoever you want, not only does she have very generic buffs, you know, in the 50% battery, the defense, the attack buff, you know, the invul's obviously like really, really good, but then being able to pretty much mitigate taking super effective damage is really nice. It's also good for her if you're fighting, say, an assassin boss, because one of the weaknesses that, say, your normal caster supports have is that you're fighting a rider enemy, they're going to get absolutely obliterated. Or there's a Berserker boss, they're going to obliterate your supports. But Reigns doesn't have that problem, and she can alleviate that issue from, you know, your casters fighting a rider boss, or Reigns herself fighting an assassin boss. I think she's very, very strong for that. But then, obviously, if you already have Reigns, or for whatever reason you don't want her, I would still recommend putting her on there. She's very, very strong when you do get to use her, especially early on. Just having another person that can give you a free 50% is never going to be bad. But, you know, if you don't want Reigns for whatever reason, or you already have her, you can obviously fill in the blanks with realistically whoever you want. I mean, someone like Ivan is going to be very, very strong, as they just kind of keep throwing him buffs. I think that's a very strong servant to get. I would warn people to maybe not go for someone like Iskandar. If you've come from the anime and you're a new player, you might say, well, Iskandar's really dope, you know, he's really cool, and I don't deny that, but they didn't do him very much justice in FGO. He's not super great. If you're looking for an offensive rider, somebody like Ozymandias can also be really good. Ketz is also very solid as well if you wanted to use her. But moving into casters, obviously, number one, the person you got to pick, she's literally the headliner right here. It's Castoria. If you do not have her, you need to put her into the caster slot. She's just the best unit in the game. I would say pretty unanimously agreed on that one. I don't really think there's anybody that really can do what she's able to do. Crazy for multi-core, very insane for challenge quests, makes arts just absolutely dummy nutty broken, compatible with Oberon setups. She just does a whole lot of ridiculous nonsense, right? One of the best support NPs in the game. I mean, what's there to not love about this servant? But if you already have Castoria, there's some really solid options. For one, Merlin can be a very strong option for you to go for. I know Proto Merlin is going to be coming out for the summer event, but you can still afford to go ahead and put Merlin on there, because Proto Merlin doesn't invalidate Merlin's existence. If anything, it kind of gives you more options going into CQs. Say you're doing a strong team comp of, say, Castoria and Merlin, or Castoria and Lady Avalon. It does give you a little bit of that leeway in saying, well, I want to use an arts DPS so I can pivot over to Lady Avalon, or I want to use a buster DPS, you know, like someone like Morgan, for instance, right? You could pivot over to using Merlin. That way you can really take full advantage of that, you know, massive card buff that they give, you know, because the massive arts buff is not really going to do anything for Morgan. I mean, sure, it'll make her NP game technically better, but you'd rather have the buster buff so she can actually do real damage, right? So she can actually hit people really hard. He's not bad to put on there. Same thing for Caster Scotty, even though if you want to do looping, you know, you're going to be better off using Ruler Scotty. Having Caster Scotty is not bad, especially if you don't have Oberon, because you can at least do the triple Scotty setup when it comes to farming, but then you can also break her out when it comes to CQs, because Caster Scotty is still very, very strong when it comes to boss fights. And also keep in mind, if you have Caster Scotty and Ruler Scotty for stuff like, say, advanced quests or tower events where you can't bring friends, you can still do quick setups because you now have the both of them, right? It's very strong. And Caster Scotty also has the thing where, you know, her plus Ruler Scotty pair very nicely with one another. If you have, say, a quick servant that has double quick cards, double buster cards, because now 4 of your card types have 100% crit damage. But then obviously it's really nice that if you have a triple quick card servant, think of somebody like Jack, right? You're predominantly going to be doing quick crits, so, you know, having Caster Scotty for those servants as well is always going to be very nice. Then after that, you kind of start moving down the rungs a little bit. You should already have Waver, so I don't see why I don't even think you could put him on there, because he's in every single banner, so ignore that. But after you start moving down from there, there's people like, say, Miss Crane that I think are solid, but she's kind of held back by the team cost restriction. You just really can't fit her into teams, unfortunately, especially because she really wants to have something like Golden Catches the Carp, right, which is like a 5-star CE that bombs 20 stars, so you can immediately start using her stuff. It does really hurt her a bit that we can't really fit her into teams because of team cost. But then outside of that, if you're looking for good caster DPSs, you do have people like, say, Ilya, who's a very strong single target. Izumo's a very strong single target. You could also grab somebody like, say, Da Vinci, who, again, kind of like Ivan, like I was mentioning earlier, does get those buffs that just kind of make her generally very good. Even though she only has the one-hit NP, she's still rather solid if you want to bring her into CQs. You can also pick, you know, the caster Nero if you're just a big Nero fan. She's not the craziest, but you can still use her. I realize that I'm pretty much focusing on caster because it's all the supports, but going into some of the other classes, like Archer, I don't really think there's like a pick that he's like, oh, you gotta pick this Archer. If you don't pick this Archer, you're absolutely out of your mind. It's one of those things that if you want the best one, in my opinion, it's Tesla. Like, I think Tesla's absolutely nuts. But if you're a fan of Gilgamesh, he's always going to be good. They constantly buff him, so he's always going to be a very safe option to go for. I mean, if you're a huge Rin fan, Ishtar, I think, is falling off a little bit, but I'm sure they'll toss her a buff eventually that puts her right on par with everybody else. Plus, it's not like she's abysmally bad or anything. You know, you could still get some good mileage out of her. Realistically, Archer, just put somebody you like. There's not, I would say, someone that you gotta get your grubby little mitts on. That's the exception for Lancer, though, because Lancer, you can see her hiding right there. You have Melusine, and Melusine is absolutely nutty. She doubles as a single target Lancer and an AoE Buster Lancer. I don't want to give away too much for the AoE Buster Lancer video that I've been working on, but she's pretty high up there. She's pretty good. It's either number 1 or number 2, and that is not debatable. She is ridiculously good as a Buster AoE Lancer. And then as a single target Lancer, she's not the best, but the fact is that she is as good as she is as a single target, while also being arguably the best AoE Lancer. I think, you know, she's good enough as a single target. And even saying good enough is probably doing her a bit of a disservice because, you know, she doesn't have any like, power mods or anything, so her damage isn't the craziest, but you unironically do like 6 or 7 NPs in a row, which a little bit of a fun little factoid here. I was going through some of her files on the FGO materials. The reason she's able to do that is they said they wanted you to feel like you were blitzing the opponent with, you know, NPs because she pretty much spams Erendite all the time. So I think that really fit out really well coming into the gameplay. They were like, yeah, we just wanted to be able to spam 6 or 7 NPs in a row, and I think it's working out for her. Now, moving over to Assassins, obviously you do want to pick Koyenskaya. I think Koyenskaya is definitively the best person you could be picking there, but if you are going to go for Koyenskaya on your Assassin slot, what I would recommend doing is coming over to, let's scroll over and find it. It's going to be her GSSR because it is a 1 in 3 shot to get her, and it's only $15, about $15 USD. So I would recommend trying to get her here first so that you can maybe put someone like King Hassan or Kama on your GSSR summon. And I mean, even if you want Kama, now you have a 2 in 3 shot of getting one of them, and then you can kind of alter which one you actually throw on there, right? So I would recommend maybe doing this one first because you just have such a good shot. Same thing for like Berserkers with like Morgan, Arjuna Alter. These guys are like really, I mean, even Summer Masashi is still really crazy, but I would recommend if you really want them, maybe do the GSSR first and try to snag them there. And then, you know, you can maybe put somebody else on the list, right? But yeah, so that's pretty much Assassins. If you get Koyenskaya, then right under that, I would say is King Hassan and Kama as far as like really good DPSs are concerned. Then we move over to Berserkers, who we were just talking about. Morgan is probably still one of the best ones in the game. Same thing for Arjuna Alter. If you want someone that can slam dunk people, Arjuna Alter pretty much does like the most free damage in the game as an AoE servant. And then Morgan is a sliding scale. Her NP1 damage is memeably bad, but then, you know, you get her with Man Attribute or Round Table Knight or Faye, and then she just has a ton of different power mods. Works really, really well in CQs because she just oddly supports the party by giving them NP gain, self-sufficient by herself with the guts, plus she overcharges the entire party's NP on her own NP, which makes her really good in an NP chain as the lead, because, you know, you say you put her in front of a Merlin, not only is Merlin getting overcharged 2 by being the second NP, but now he's getting to overcharge 3 because she's further overclocking everybody's NP. Still also very, very good with someone like Castoria. You put her at the back of an NP chain, she's given like 4 hits of solemn defense. It's ridiculous, right? It's super, super nasty. So she's very, very good. And honestly, a lot of the Berserkers you really can't go wrong with. I mean, even if you're someone where you're like, oh, I'm just a really big fan of Kentoki, you know, I would like to kind of throw him in that slot. He's not even that bad. You might look at his kit and say, wow, this guy is super, super basic. And it's like, No, I mean, he's just good, right? He just does really good single target damage, 50% battery. Not the craziest guy in CQs, but he'll get the job done, right? Same thing for someone like MHX Alter. She's very, very basic, but is super dummy good when it comes to things like CQ, just being able to absolutely dumpster enemy bosses, right? Very, very strong. And then the extra classes, as you can see, are broken into Ruler, Avenger, Moon Cancer, and the other one is Alter Ego for Foreigner Pretender. This one, realistically, doesn't matter outside of Oberon. You want to try to secure this guy because he will make your life so much easier once we get the 90++ nodes. You'll see in about a week, I guess 2 weeks technically, because we have to wait for the event to drop, then wait for the event to finish so we can get the 90++ nodes. But you'll see, having Oberon just makes your life way easier. But outside of that, you can effectively pick whoever you want. Like if you have Oberon, you can just pick a dude that you think is good or that you think is cool, and you're just like, I just want this guy. There's really no harm in doing something like that. Do you like Ruler Artoria? Then by all means, go ahead and pick her. Is she the craziest servant? No, but I mean, she's fine, right? Fine enough to get the job done. Same thing for someone like Ruler Moriarty, right? Like they're still very solid. Obviously, if you want to pick like an insane ruler for your first one, you go with someone like Chi Shi Huang or Himiko, because Himiko dumpsters on everybody, just slam dunks them with the crits ordained by heaven, and then Chi Shi Huang, literally ordained by heaven, is going to solo through everything, right? Avengers, you have people like Jean Alter, who is ridiculously good with her 50% battery over on JP, and still, even before she gets that, can just absolutely just smack enemies into the ground with how strong her NP hits. Same thing for Tyra. Tyra can do immaculate crits and still hits very hard on her own NP. Kama Avenger is a very good looper if you're a big Kama fan, right? You have people you can pick. I mean, Summer BB is another like Moon Cancer option who opens up a lot of different, I would say, setups with her third skill being able to lock your cards down. Realistically, the extra class guys, just pick somebody you like. You know, honestly, I mean, even if you're like, oh man, I heard that Kukulkan is going to make, you know, Foreigner Koyenskaya obsolete. It's like, yeah, Kukulkan makes a lot of people obsolete. She's just kind of ridiculously broken. That's not her fault. She's still a great servant. You know, Koyenskaya over here is not bad. If you want to put her on there because you're I was going to say a fox enjoyer, but I mean, technically she's a bunny, right? She goes out of her way to be like, no, I'm not a fox, I'm a bunny. So if you're a bunny enjoyer, I suppose, then you could put her on there. And she's still very, very strong. She's not a bad servant. So that's kind of my advice going into the Destiny Order Summon. Again, though, don't feel bad if you can't do it. It is like 30 bucks, right? Like it's a price, right? I mean, I know for some people that's not a lot, but I mean, for a mobile game, I don't know if you want to be shelling out $30 to even $45 if you also want to do the GSSR. My advice, do the GSSR, see if you get the one person you really want, especially if it's a support, and then maybe consider doing the Destiny Order Summon. I think this is one of those things that is better for newer players that just need to get their grubby little mitts on a strong support to kind of get their account going, or for people that have just been very unlucky when it comes to pulling for the supports and everything. But even if you can't do it, don't worry. We have Ruler Scotty coming out in about like a week and a half. You know, we have Proto Merlin coming out in about a week from now. You can have a pretty good opportunity to get some pretty good meta supports in about a week's time, right? And then if you're not able to do this, I mean, take it from me, I'm still considering not doing it because it's like, dude, $45. It's this or Elden Ring's DLC. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather get Elden Ring's DLC. But with that being said, if you found this video to be helpful, I'd appreciate a like on the video, maybe a subscription to the channel. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.